Quite honestly, it maybe wasn't as long as I was expecting because he had said this is going to be a long one. But covered the waterfront on a lot of issues, everything from foreign policy to domestically what was going on. But I think here's what the real message is all about. Real immediate tax relief for the American family. He had somebody who was benefiting from those no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, the benefit of energy production, knowing that we've got to turn the corner on inflation, and that's starting to happen. I think really the policies that have been set in place are the ones that will deliver after a little bit of time here. But we're on the right path.
Well, I think the president used every moment to divide Americans, and he did not address the major challenges that the American families are facing. He talked about lies that address the pocketbook challenges that all Americans are facing. I heard no discussion about accountability. He did bolster up his plan for tariffs. They're a hidden tax, they're a regressive tax, and they're being levied most severely on working families. And also did not address the Epstein files at all, or the release of those files. And basically the only agenda item he mentioned was revamping the election process because he knows he's failing in addressing the needs of Americans and wanted to make certain that those midterm elections are addressed significantly well because he's losing in the court of public opinion.
Well, tonight, John Ossoff and the Democrats refused to stand up for America. They stayed seated when the president talked about the fact that he secured the border. We have no illegal immigrants coming into this country anymore, and that ICE is doing their job of getting rid of criminal illegal immigrants. They stayed seated when the president talked about the economy and how the improvements that he's made in the economy, decrease interest rates, decrease inflation. We passed the Working Families Tax Cut Act. It has led to more money in people's pockets and avoided the largest increase that we would have ever seen in taxes that John Ossoff voted against. And he also stayed seated whenever he talked about negotiating 8 peace deals throughout the world, ending wars, making the world safer, ending chaos. They stayed seated. They refused, John Ossoff and the Democrats refused to stand up for America tonight.
My biggest takeaway is I think it was sad because he really ignored the real state of the union, because far too many people, life is too expensive. They can't, the groceries, the rent, child care, health care, getting out of reach for the average person. And his ICE operation terrorizing communities. People where I live are scared.
Oh, it was a great night. I've had an opportunity during my 8 years in the House to be in the chamber for State of the Union addresses between President Obama, President Trump's first term, President Biden, and there was just a really great energy in there. When you had the USA men's hockey team coming in, the reuniting of that family from Venezuela, the 2 Congressional Medal of Honor awardees there. It was very powerful tributes to the best of America as we head into and through this America 250. As far as the substance of the speech for Americans tuning in at home, they care about the future of our nation's economy, having strong borders, safe streets. The president has been focused since he got sworn into this term for victories at home and strength shown abroad. And I think in many respects that was highlighted. The president did a fantastic job. I was excited to be there, happy to be back in the chamber, and the president delivered.
I thought it was perhaps his best speech. I think he hit on all the key points, assuring the American people that the nation is growing stronger, that life is getting better, prices are coming down, and he hit on the main points of the promises that were made during the campaign: securing the border, getting crime under control, and of course getting a head start on health care and things that really matter to the American people.
Look, the president he's the one of, if not the greatest of all time at this. I mean, connecting with the people. One of the things I think he's done really effectively is draw a contrast. Who's for this and who's against that, right? And part of it is informing voters and people that are watching. How are things happening? How is it going? But who's responsible for the good or the bad, or what you like or what you don't like? I thought he did a masterful job at that. And of course, as a guy who wore the uniform for a long time, I loved the recognition of the members that put their lives on the line every single day to keep us safe, and the awesome things that have been accomplished by these people. And it breaks my heart to see that there are some members in the chamber. Look, you can dislike the president all you want, but you should acknowledge those people and their sacrifices regardless.
Look, this was one of the president's best speeches ever. He reminded the American people exactly why they elected him 15 months ago. He went over all the things that he's done, all the accomplishments he's done, both domestic policy, foreign policy. This was just a master class.
Well, this was probably his best State of the Union yet. And it was great because he really showed the difference between what Republicans stand for, addressing the affordability crises, and then calling out Democrats for causing the affordability crises, whether it was the energy crisis of the Green New Deal, the housing crisis, the overregulations that Democrats put on, or the healthcare crisis of unaffordability caused by Obamacare. He called them out, and even when it came to illegal immigration, saying, do you put the American people above illegal immigrants? Stand up, and Republicans stood and Democrats stayed seated.
It was the great American comeback. I think the president really made the case for what he's accomplished in terms of restoring the American economy and restoring the future prospects for this country in terms of what we can achieve, and the financial success of Americans in terms of the economic growth, the jobs that they're having, the prices that they're enjoying that have been brought under control during his time. He also, of course, talked about getting immigration under control. And then, of course, just uplifting so many great Americans who've achieved great things over the past year.
I think it was hope. The president focused on the last year and the successes that he's had, and I think talked about the future too. He wants to continue to build on the wins that we've seen over the last year. It was an emotional speech. There were a lot of really pivoting moments, including having the men's gold-winning hockey team come in the gallery, giving Congressional Medal of Honors to two very deserving service members, highlighting some of the families that he's been able to impact. It was just a really, I think, positive, hopeful night.
Well, this was the president at his best, I think. This was an optimistic speech, not only about what he's accomplished in the first year of this term, but also for America. He talked about America's best days being ahead, but I think he really reminded the American people of what he had promised in the campaign, and then how much we've done and he's done to accomplish, to make good on those promises. Securing the border, 0 people in the last 9 months, 0 illegal immigrants coming into the country, thousands of criminal illegal immigrants who have been removed from the country, making America safer than it has been in over 100 years. An economy that is now working for Americans, bringing inflation down from a high of 9% and an average of 5% during the last administration to, he talked about core inflation being down to 1.4%. He reminded the Americans about the tax bill that we passed that is providing large refunds, putting more money back in Americans' pockets, more spending money for them. He reminded Americans wages are going up and prices are coming down. So this was a positive speech, but this has got to be, it's been one of the most successful first terms of any president in terms of delivering on the promises that he made to the American people.
So for me, I think the more, like the president was talking about winning as the USA gold medalist hockey team came down. That was awesome. But I think for me, it was the takeaway of compare and contrast of the nation before the president, the nation after the president, the open borders, inflation at 9%, and then the moves he's made since then to fix inflation, obviously to secure the borders, and also to help get some of the crime under control. And as we're talking about crime and Ms. Zarenka that died on the subway in Charlotte, then he started giving Medal of Honor to heroes. So it was a compare and contrast thing for me from how broken the nation was and how much better it's doing now. And he went from talking about the victims of illegal aliens, CDL, non-CDL, non-English CDL drivers, to awarding heroes of this great nation. So for me, that was kind of the takeaway. I think the president, he talks about the golden age of America. The compare and contrast between the Biden administration and the president was my takeaway tonight.
Yeah, the president is pretending like costs aren't high for Americans. He's pretending as though everything is okay and it's all because of him. But the reality is the opposite. Prices are higher because of him. Life is worse for most Americans since last year because of him. And so we're going to tell the story of what's happening in America, and we're going to make sure that we push back on his agenda that's making life worse for Americans.
America first. President Trump is celebrating, along with all of us, 250 years of this great American experiment that we've had, and the opportunity for people to take care of themselves, with freedom being the foundation of that. So no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. We were able to celebrate individuals that husbands work in overtime, the mom works for tips during the day, and $5,000 more in those people's pockets because of policies that Republicans in Congress have supported, as has the president.